And now, the general weather around Alaska.
Okay, up first on the hazardous weather graphic, Seward Peninsula, Noatak, Kobuk Valleys, flood watch out through the weekend for possible flooding in these areas with another system coming in tomorrow and tomorrow night and into Sunday. And then here in the central interior, that's a wind advisory out southern Koyukuk Valley down into the Fairbanks area. For winds gusting to 40 miles an hour, that's out until 1 a.m. Saturday morning, so mostly this evening. And then a high wind watch out for the Alaska Range again from late Saturday night through Sunday for possible winds gusting over 60 miles an hour from the south, again with the next storm moving in. And on the southwest coast here, we've got a continued high surf advisory out for this evening there in Nunivak Island, coastal areas of the Kuskokwim Delta. Again, for high surf, possible minor beach erosion. And again, that's for this evening, ending after midnight. Moving on to the fire danger graphic here. We've got some very high fire danger in a narrow band there on the lee side of the eastern Alaska Range where there's been less precipitation and a lot more wind in that area. Pretty gusty winds. Delta Junction today, peak wind gusts 55 miles an hour. And again, this forecast for tomorrow are staying very high in that area. And with the hotter temperatures expected in on Sunday, this area will probably expand northward on Sunday and to the west a little bit there, and even increase over the Copper River Basin. Again, that would be the Sunday forecast. Otherwise, on the satellite imagery here, you can see weakening front pushing into western Canada, just dragging some clouds down across the northern panhandle. More clouds over the Copper River Basin, low center moving off to the northeast there, crossing the eastern Alaska Range with some pretty good precipitation down in toward Fairbanks and back to the west here, and then more cloudiness coming through south central Alaska earlier on. And out to the west, the next storm showing up out here, actually two centers, one here along the front, the main low center back out toward Shemya. And you can see this one tracking northeastward, the other one kind of hanging back to the west there. Big area of precipitation with this thing coming up into the Bering Sea here, with some clouds now reaching the southwest coast this afternoon. Winds gusting to 61 miles an hour with this system at Atka so far today, about mid-afternoon, 3 o'clock. And at Adak, picking up 1¼ inches of precipitation in the 12-hour period, ending at 3 p.m. this afternoon. Otherwise, with the system here tracking northward there to the eastern Arctic coast at the surface low to the eastern Arctic coast there, that bringing a fair amount of wind and rain in with it. For example, before the high came in, when this came in actually about 1 a.m. last night, Bethel had a peak wind gust of 66 miles per hour, about 54 miles an hour at McGrath. Anchorage International Airport had 47 miles per hour for a peak wind gust, as did Palmer. So it's pretty gusty winds with this system. And again, Delta Junction seeing 55 mile an hour wind gusts. This all moving through now, so conditions will improve later tonight. Partly and mostly sunny over the panhandle today with those clouds over the northern panhandle. Less of that down to the south. Next storm over the Bering Sea here, tracking just north of the Aleutians this afternoon. Tight gradient with this front and bringing those 60 to 65 mile an hour wind gusts into the Aleutians and now pushing up toward the Pribilof Islands, rain spreading eastward. This will continue northeastward tonight with more rain pushing into the southwest interior to about almost to the mid-Yukon River Valley late tonight. Otherwise, diminishing rain and showers here along and south of the Brooks Range. Dry for the south central Alaska area, Copper River Basin. Very weak low just off the eastern North Gulf Coast. Most of the moisture will be offshore with that feature. And then that completely dissipates tomorrow and kind of just is gone actually here. So that'll lead to probably you'll see some clouds move across the panhandle and then looking for a partly and mostly sunny afternoon tomorrow. Same thing in the Copper River Basin. Some leftover showers, moisture with this system linking up with the one pushing into the Mackenzie River Delta there and Bay. So chance of some moisture over the upper Yukon Valley, but dry for the 40-mile country. There, chance of rain maybe late for very light rain into the Fairbanks area, but the heavier wind and rain back here to the west, extending down to the Alaska Peninsula and eastern Aleutians. Rain changing to showers with diminishing winds for the Pribilos. rain for the Seward Peninsula, Bering Strait, St. Lawrence Island, and this low center keeping it showery and windy over the central Aleutians, and then that whole system pushes off to the northeast right to the Seward Peninsula on Sunday and Sunday afternoon, with the front sliding eastward here, bringing a chance of rain into south central Alaska, Kodiak Island, up into the central interior, all the way up to the Arctic coast. Although ahead of this front with those southerly winds, much warmer temperatures pushing back in to the far eastern areas, Eagle down to Northway and Tok, looking at temperatures in the mid to upper 80s with 75 to 80 in spite of the cloudiness pushing into the Fairbanks area there. And another nice day for the Panhandle, mostly sunny or just flat out sunny with highs 70s and lower 80s in that area. Looking at the lows tonight for the southeast coast, mid 40s to lower 50s there, and about the same over the interior, mostly in the 40s, 30s up toward the North Slope and Arctic coast, in the 40s out west. Highs tomorrow, 70s. Eagle down to Northway and Tok, and in the 60s in the central, east central interior areas. South central Alaska, 60 to 65, trying to push 70 there around Kodiak Island, and 60s and 70s for the southeast coast, 50s out over the Bering Sea. And the lows for Sunday morning, 30s for the North Slope and the Arctic coast, otherwise mostly in the 50s and upper 40s and 50s for the remainder of interior Alaska, including the Panhandle, 40s out over the Bering Sea and the Aleutians. And then for the highs on Sunday afternoon, big jump here back into the mid to upper 80s again, as I mentioned, from Eagle down toward Chicken, Northway and Tok, and 75 to 80 around the greater Fairbanks area. Then Tanana, mid 60s, cooling into the 50s, and eventually the upper 40s out toward the Bering Strait and St. Lawrence Island. Mid 50s for the Aleutians, and about mid 60s Kodiak Island, mid 60s South Central Alaska. 75 to 80 though in the Copper River Basin. Very nice conditions here in the southeast coast. Sunshine, light winds, highs 70s to lower 80s.